Most days I take my walk along the canal path here and I share a video with you. And yesterday I thought, well, the news story is actually just over my shoulder. I came walking past this Jaguar centre, Jaguar Land Rover centre, which is here in Northampton. It used to be in the town centre and then it recently moved to this new building that they built. Newly dedicated development building specifically to sell Jaguar and Land Rover. And as I walked past yesterday, just making my usual regular vlog, my eyes were distracted slightly as I looked at the car park behind me where they normally store all of their new vehicles waiting to be either sold or collected by new buyers. And what really struck me as I walked past was actually just the emptiness of the car park. And what that popped in my mind was just that I had also just read a story about Jaguar and some of the challenges that they've had, and that's that they've just reported their April numbers. Their April numbers for 2025 versus 2024, and I can tell you that 1 year later from selling 1,200 cars in 2014, they sold 49 vehicles across all of Europe. That is flabbergasting to me, and the reason that I brought it up is that I've been a fan of the brand. I've really enjoyed Jaguar. I've kind of got a bit of a history with it. I've owned multiple Jaguars in my time, and it felt like the kind of the real car driver's car, if that makes some sense. But when I walked up here yesterday, I noticed just how many spaces were in the car park, and so I did a bit of research and had a little look into what was going on. Now, last November, Jaguar announced a rebranding, and that rebranding went global, went viral, and for all of the wrong reasons. And that was just simply that they put out an advertising campaign that featured no cars, that talked about changing the brand, changing the legacy, and of course the advert was controversial in itself, not just because it didn't feature cars, but just because of the cast of people, the colours that they chose, and the fact that there was very little information about where this rebranding was going. So it jolted a lot of fans of Jaguar, and as a result it looks like people have stopped buying their vehicles. Now, the car park is empty because Jaguar have effectively ended production of the combustion engine and they've moved to EV, but they haven't built or launched the EVs that they plan to move to. So they've left themselves a gap where they'll have cleared out some inventory, sales are dropping through the floor, and they haven't got something new to roll through. So look, I've worked at brands before that have gone through launching new products, and I've seen it go right and I've seen it go wrong. And in this occasion for Jaguar, I can't help but think if it's really a planned failure, as in the company knows it's in dire straits and they've tried a marketing campaign to see if they can get themselves out of it, and it doesn't seem to be working, and it's turning off fans of the brand. So I thought I would come a walk up here and just let you see what the car park looks like. Now, for continuity on this, it's Thursday the 3rd of July. It's 10:34 in the morning. Now, talking about the Jaguar thing, when I was growing up as a kid, my dad used to watch the TV show Minder. You know, the old write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Little Britain just ended Minder, didn't it?
I got a good idea to do.
But Minder was the show that my dad loved. And what I can always remember was Arthur Daly.
So I got a smack for clocking motors. Happens to the best, doesn't it? Do you remember that 3.8 Jag?
That was a bona fide repair.
The kind of slightly dodgy car salesman with a sheepskin jacket and the hat. He drove a Jaguar, and to my dad, that was like the opulence. That's when you knew, in his eyes, you had made it, when you had a Jaguar. And so many years later, when I had relocated to living in England with Yvonne, I had a job for a nearby business, and when it was time for me to have a company car, I was asked to make a selection, and I was able to get a Jaguar. So I didn't own it. It wasn't mine, it was the company's. I was basically just borrowing it. But as part of my job, it felt like a perk and one that I was really pleased with, really enjoyed. And I had that Jaguar. It's a beautiful looking car. If I can find a picture, I'll put it here. It was in gleaming white. And I had it for a couple of years before I left that business. And then when I moved on and I was promoted and worked my way through the corporate ladder, I was making a bit more money and I got my second Jaguar car, and this time it was an F-Type, and I can't tell you the enjoyment it gave me picking my dad up in it. And it was only a two-seater, so poor Yvonne, if she wasn't with me, fine, but I took my dad out a couple of times and I drove him on occasion to an airport when he travelled with me. Sometimes for when I was travelling for business meetings, if I was going internationally, I would pay for my dad to come with me just so that he could experience some other territories that I would travel to. And he would stay at the hotel, go for a walk, we would share dinner in the evening, and we would share a room. It was like being a kid again, sharing a room with your parents, right? So I'd share a room with my dad, and we would get back in that car, and it gave me such a thrill to put the foot down a little bit, let the exhausts rip, because the Jaguar F-Type just had a beautiful engine sound to it. It was a V6 that I had and turbocharged, and it was awesome. But I had that car as we went into COVID, and that car was mine. It wasn't a company car, and it was my pride and joy. But when we went into the COVID period, it was sitting on the drive, and I thought, what am I doing? This is just costing money and it's not going anywhere, and I've no idea when we'll be back on the road. So I decided very early on in 2020, as lockdowns were starting to happen, to get rid of the car, and it was a really wise decision because it would just have cost me a lot of cash to go nowhere, look good on my drive. And at that point I kind of realised then that was like the height of my purchases, my kind of ownership of things, and I started to feel that change where after I'd had that car, I knew I would never go back to having something like that. Not because I couldn't afford it, I just didn't want it. I didn't want it anymore, and it was kind of the start of the change in my mindset about things. And this is long before my dad passed away, and as I've mentioned on videos, dealing with his possessions was really also a big wake-up call for me. And I read in the comments so often, great info. I talk about this often because I do want to kind of pass it back to thanking people. Somebody, and if they're still watching this channel, somebody said to me about the Swedish death protocol as I was going through clearing my dad's house. And that comment is one that sits with me because I went and looked into that, and it really started to encourage, wasn't the spark, but it was encourage the change in me to want to kind of downsize in things and feel a bit more lighter about the number of possessions that I had. And that kind of also is fed into this point now where we're selling items from the house and I'm working my way through that. And if I was being honest with you, talking about the things that we're trying to do on this channel, which is, get ready to leave the UK, downsizing, handing back the keys to our home. My car that I had is gone. Yvonne's goes back in a couple of weeks. That comment kind of helped me work my way through that period because I researched that death protocol, the Swedish death protocol. I watched another fellow YouTuber, Laura Try, go through that experience with her mother. Found it fascinating. And so the reason that I talk about that is I'm now at a point where I'm dealing with this. I've talked about this record collection, and it's about 2,000 records, and I've talked to a number of people about selling it. I had I would say a friend, an acquaintance, somebody that I was buying records from, had a call with him yesterday and we were talking about the collection. He's been a buyer and seller, a wheeler and dealer. Hello Martin, if you're watching. And he was giving me a bit of advice on it. And I think what I'm struggling with the most, you're going to have to go through these decisions if you're going to leave the country, change your life or move or just downsize your possessions. You're going to have to let things go that mean something to you. And that record collection has kind of felt like my identity. I've talked about this before, about kind of shedding that away. I've gone through this in the past. I've sold these kind of things before. But it's right now in this moment where I'm having to make a decision about what to do with it. I can put it into storage. I can probably spend 50 to £100 a month with it sitting somewhere, probably in Glasgow, gathering dust, or I can let it go just now. And the market is difficult right now, and I've got either 2,000 individual sales that I have to achieve on eBay or find another way. And I've read the suggestions about auction houses, but when I talked to people like Martin yesterday, the market is just difficult. And I mean, it's difficult for many things. We're trying to sell things right now on Facebook Marketplace and eBay, and it's tough. I think it's a good indication as to what kind of money is sloshing around in the country right now, when even items that you think would sell easily don't. So I find that, you know, I'm in this quandary right now. What do I do with this? So I'm talking to a business now about buying it, and I think we're fairly close to maybe getting an agreement which would see the whole thing go. To me, that would be a good win, because it would be a big chunk of something that's in the house that's taking a bit of my brain power out the door. But I grew up collecting these. I grew up collecting them. So give me your feedback on that. Let me know what you think. I'm always open to comments and suggestions that come back from you. Now, I also want to say a quick thanks to Deborah, and happy anniversary, 20th anniversary I think I read. Thank you so much for the donation that's popped up on screen. I appreciate you. And also to Christina, who also sent a great comment on a video a couple of days ago about that donation from Matt as well. And I wanted to say thank you, Christina, on the video. So if I get these coming through, I'm going to try and feature them here just as a thanks from me to that person. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I thought I would share it here, because this is not one where I'm giving you, this is how you do this. Kind of more seeking mental clarity on what to do with it. And I sit in the house at this point, a bit locked, a bit kind of, I'm stuck in that mental paralysis where I don't know whether to turn left or turn right, and time is ticking away. Now, also to share with you, we now have confirmed leave dates, and that will be exiting the UK on the 17th of September. That is the date the flight takes off and we're out of here. So that's kind of what I'm working towards. The reason I've picked the 17th of September is nothing more than we need to be out of the house by the end of August, and we'll go back to Scotland, drop off personal possessions that we have left over, paperwork, etc. Yvonne's mum and dad is kindly helping us out with a care of address, and we'll visit some friends and family before we head. So we'll go back to Scotland at the end of August and then get ready to leave on the 17th of September. And at that point then, the point of this channel really starts to kick in. But for now, it's just wrestling with the decisions of what to do. So Jaguar talked about, thanks to the couple of viewers. What do you think about the Jaguar situation? You can let me know. Right, beautiful sunny day. I'm getting that walk in, keeping that weight down, which is the important part. Have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you in the next one.